Coach James, I appreciate you being here with me today. What we're going to be doing in the next 25 minutes, we're going to be describing to our viewers about the tools of moving forward. This is a very wonderful set of tools, but kind of complex because sometimes the names don't actually correlate accurately with what the tool is or how the tool is functional. So let's talk about the tools of moving forward. Let's go with claim responsibility. What is that tool? How is it used? And then I'm going to ask you a few questions about that tool.
The Gogi tool, claim responsibility, is the first tool of moving forward. And we ask ourselves, am I proud of this choice? Right? Am I proud of this choice? And what claim responsibility does is it allows me to like look at today and say, what's going on today, and claim responsibility for that. A lot of times in our life, we talk about claim responsibility. It kicks us right into our past.
What do you mean by that?
Like in the past, I was always willing. There came a point in my life where I was willing to claim responsibility for the negative things that I've done. And when I started to claim responsibility for the negative things that I'd done, it put me in a very emotional and vulnerable state. And when I was, if I'm in that emotional, vulnerable state for too long, I get stuck there, and then I start to ruminate and obsessively think about all the negative things. If we could do that to the positive, like if I could obsessively think about positive things and the positive choices that I'm making right now today, and claiming it. A lot of times I don't claim responsibility for getting up out of bed in the morning, for taking a shower, for getting dressed, for saying goodbye. Maybe you text a few people hello. We just sort of do these things and we don't claim responsibilities, but something negative happens in our life and then boom, we claim responsibility for it.
So as a Gogi life tool, what you're telling me is, okay, we can look at our past and say, yes, I claim responsibility for doing this thing that I regret, or that I shouldn't have done, or that was harmful. But we also balance that with claiming responsibility for our positive choices. Is that how the Gogi life tool differentiates from just claiming responsibility for the negative?
Absolutely. And just to even focus that even more, claim responsibility for what's happening right now in your life today. Like a lot of times in my life, I'd show up to places and I'd be like, I'm this, I did this, I've done all these things. I'm claiming all this responsibility. And in prison or in a criminal lifestyle, we claim responsibility for some of the most negative things and turn them into positive, right? This is good. Well, I met this guy and he told me, well, none of that really matters, right? That's already happened. Like really, all that matters is like when you go out on the yard tomorrow, what kind of choice are you going to make? Like what kind of choice do I make right now and that I'm proud of? Am I proud of this choice that's moving me in a direction of, if I want to be free, if I want to lose weight, if I want to stop a certain type of actions or whatever? What am I doing right now today to enhance that? So I think it brings us into, out of the past. This is the point where we want to move forward. And how do we move forward?
So how might a teacher, let's say a teacher has a classroom, how might a teacher utilize this tool, claim responsibility? Let's say there's a group of students that are inherently problematic, distracting. How might a teacher use claim responsibility to encourage the students to have more positive behavior? What might that look like?
I think by showing the student that there are things that student is proud of in their lives right now today. I like one way that I would maybe, if I was the teacher and I was delivering this to a thing, I'd maybe start with this circle on a piece of paper and put the something that's important to that person on a piece of paper. and allow them to start claim responsibility for that. And then they could make lines off of that piece of paper and write, well, like, what are you doing right now to graduate from high school? What are you doing right now to communicate with your parents? Whatever's that important thing to them, claim responsibility for that, and then start highlighting those actions that I'm doing right now, or the things that I can do right now.
So what I hear you saying is the teacher can help the student shift their perception to a positive.
Yes.
How might a police officer use the tool claim responsibility? Let's say a police officer sees somebody that's just not doing what they need to do. They're causing harm to their community. How might a police officer utilize the tool claim responsibility?
The similar ways, by highlighting and emphasizing, a lot of times we feel like we're in a situation and it's hopeless. And when you take a full inventory of yourself or whatever, you start to realize, okay, I do have this, I do have that, I do have this. These are the things that are important to me. And assess that, and then build on that. Like, it works. For me, it worked the same way. I was very, very good for a lot of years of being bad. Very good. Like, I made it a full-time thing. I'm just getting, because it was a distorted way of thinking that we develop while we're in prison, because we're steady, we get immersed in these thoughts. But when I started getting immersed in the positive thoughts, when I started to see how everything around me was actually a benefit and an assistance, I was able to then start, communicating with that officer that is trying to help me. There's such a with these tools, and when we speak to these key words amongst each other, it allows us to step into positivity.
So let's talk about then the next tool, let go. Some people just think it's, oh, let it go, don't pay attention to it. But the Gogi Life tool, let go, is a little different. Talk to me about what is the Gogi Life tool, let go, and how might people use it?
Yeah, the keywords for Gogi Life tool are hand squash toss, and speaking it into my hand, crumpling it up, and tossing it away from me. It may sound silly at first, but what's happening in this method of thinking is, one, I'm identifying what's bothering me. I'm speaking it out loud, putting it into my hand, and getting it away from me.
So let's say a parent has a child who's having a temper tantrum. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do it. How might the parent use hand squash toss with that child who's in the middle of a temper tantrum?
By speaking out what exactly is bothering you. Let's get that out in the open. Let's speak that now. Let's squash that and get it away from you, and let's see if any other thoughts come up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think a lot of these tools, they once we learn the tools, two tools at once, because I think asking him or her to put one hand on her chest and one hand on her belly and breathing, and then tell me what's the matter and speak it into your hand, squash it and toss it.
Yeah.
And then if you get this far into the dialogue with the child, what's happening is we're starting to lean towards positivity, and then we would grab for another tool.
Right.
And in a way, this is relapse prevention. These are layered coping skills that take us out of the dysfunction and into today, right now, and to the positive.
How might a police officer utilize the Gogi Life tool, let go?
In his or her personal lives, it could really work. I think a lot of times when we think that it has to be applied to somebody. No, a peace officer, there's things that they're gonna see and experience and go through that they're going to have to identify, speak out loud, and get away from them in order to move forward with their careers. Uh, it's just a really good mental cleansing to when I started talking about some of the heavier issues, when I started to speak that out in group and get that away from me, it loses its power and it wanes, and then allows me to move forward with positivity.
Mm-hmm. Just as an example, how would you have used the tool let go in the early stages of your evolution? Now all the tools kind of fuse together and they just are Coach James. They're just the very essence of who you are. But in the very beginning, let's say, and you didn't have the full tool set of toolboxes, you're just in the need of this tool. Can you give me one example of how the tool let go worked for you?
Uh, I would put like in the very early stages, I would put stuff like this. Uh,
Uh,
I would put stuff like this, these affirmation things. Let me see if I can. I might have to do my background.
No, that's good. Yeah, if you just keep it close to your chest and then I think, yeah. And back up. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, perfect. So what you did was created reminders for yourself, little like flashcards and little reminders.
Yeah, I would put them. I would put them up on the wall like these affirmations, especially with the tool I let go. That's a little bit more challenging. I didn't. I liked my resentments. I was addicted to my resentments. It identified the negative persona that I was trying to be at the time. At a certain point, I needed to start letting go.
I have a question. One student wrote me and said, well, Coach Taylor, if I let go of all of these things, then who am I? If I let go of resenting the person that abused me, if I let go of everything I experienced, who am I? There's a danger in letting go of those resentments because, like you said, I held on to them. It helped define who you were. It defined your emotions. How does somebody feel comfortable in little by little letting go of those things that aren't truly who they are?
Yeah, and I think you said it in the question. It's little by little,
I see.
starting with something small, starting with something small that you can stand to get rid of, that you no longer need, right? I can be an emotional hoarder, and I can hold on to all these things and build all these, resentments. It really doesn't. It really doesn't enhance my disposition throughout my day, nor does it make me a person that people want to be around, right? But with the tool let go, I can just let go of a thought. I can just let go of something small, right? We always feel like we have to do these big sweeping things so everybody will see. This is not about everybody else. This is about your own inner exploration and finding out ways to become the solution to your own problem.
Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about the tool forgive, which is not related to forgiveness, except that through the tool forgiveness ends up happening. Let's talk a little bit about this tool of moving forward called for-give.
Yeah, in order for me to give, I must be safe from harm. Uh, I like to break it down and say like with and when you're incarcerated, like top ramens and soups is like a something very important because this is a supplemental meal to your state food meals and everything. So so let's say I see my friend and I have 10 soups and he's hungry and it's lunchtime and I'm like, here, bro, here's 4 soups, right? Go have lunch or whatever. A lot of times we don't realize we kind of somehow create an expectation when I give him those 4 soups that later on he maybe give me those 4 soups back or whatever. And what happens is like the next day, see him come into the building and he has a whole bag of soups and now you ate 4 soups, you gave him 4 soups and you don't have lunch for tomorrow, but he doesn't come give you those 4 soups back. like I set myself all up for this. Like with the tool forgive is saying like, in order for me to give, I must be safe. I just give them the soups and not build this resentment and not have this whole little weird thing happen in, 48 hours after I gave something to somebody. That's how I first started to really like identify with the tool. I was like, if I'm not in a position to give something to somebody, whether it's monetary or my attention or my time or my motives, then I need to be strong enough to say no and not do it right then. And that, believe it or not, that actually like that's actually where then maybe that like we started to be able to forgive each other in real, like for real, for the negative things. The it's such a safety tool that you puts me back in control of the situation of saying, in order for me to give, I need to be safe from harm. When in an amends process, we all get in a rush and we all want to write amends letters to our victims and this, that. Sometimes they're not ready to hear from us. Sometimes it's not a safe situation and can actually enhance and create a bigger problem. The Gogi tool that allows me to look at that whole situation and say, if it's safe, then I'm going to continue on in that path and move towards that forgiveness thing everybody wants to jump to. But forgive is a really, really powerful tool.
Let's talk in general about this set of tools called the tools of moving forward. What is the function of tools of moving forward? We have 3 tools within this set, but what is the function of this particular set of tools?
Well, the function is about how we move forward, how we find like clarity. But how I like to describe is, in the process, I claim responsibility, and if I'm claiming responsibility for the positive things in my life, negative things are going to come up. When those negative things want to come up, I want to identify them, speak them into my hand, and squash them and toss them, right? And then I want to begin to start to be of service and to give back to other people.
Interesting. So what I hear you saying is it's not only moving forward beyond your past, but it's moving forward beyond current obstacles, like obstacles of today. So in my mind, when the tools were created, when they were given to us by individuals in prisons and jails, it really was a lot about moving beyond the past. But what you're saying now as a free man, you're utilizing them to move beyond the barriers that you perceive exist in present day. Is that right?
Yeah, today.
Awesome.
And that's what I like mostly about Gogi. It's about right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, today. If I make my next decision a positive decision, or if I put myself in a place to be of service, being where I'm in a safe place that I can actually do this, that's how I move forward. And I'm definitely not my past in that. In the past I was the pollution, in the present I become the solution.
I love it. I love hearing that. And I love your take on the tools of moving forward. I'm so grateful that you were able to spend this time with us. Thank you so much for sharing. You certainly are a voice of all that is possible when you utilize the Gogi Life tools. I see it in your family, with your mother, your stepfather. I see it in your workplace. I see it in how you represent just as you move through life. And it just pleases me to no end to see you embrace the totality of everything that Gogi has to offer. I'm very, very proud of you.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you so much. And goodbye. Thank you again.